Welcome, Neels and Nelis,
Thank
to
you,
our
Nicole.
retirement
Thank you.
webinar today, where we're going to be sharing some tips about what to do and what to expect for retirement. So, Nelis, for someone that is still far from retirement, what should they focus on?
I think the most important thing is to realize that being far from retirement does not absolve you from taking action. Retirement is built through a lifetime of work. You can't deal with it once you've paid for studies, once you've paid for the house, once you've bought that dream car, and then we'll start saving for retirement. First thing to take care of is your short-term goals. To have some emergency funds saved up for example, a pandemic. Just to be able to take care of yourself through those couple of uncertain months. The second thing you should take care of is unforeseen consequences from an insurance point of view. Life insurance, disability insurance, medical aid insurance. And then what goes together with that would be your last will and testament, to obviously make sure that should you pass away, your family is taken care of in the correct way structurally. And then the last portion that gets added, but not less important, would be your retirement planning. You have to plan for retirement from the very first paycheck you receive. Every month you don't save properly enough for retirement, it just simply racks up the bill, and the bill becomes bigger and bigger. So sit down with a financial advisor and make sure you have a plan on where you will end up when you turn 65.
Thank you so much. So we can't just wait until we're 65?
Definitely not. You have to get started today.
Neils, upon retirement, what options are available for investments?
Very important that before we get to the options or the investment that's available, that the retiree or the member who's due for retirement must understand that these choices and options are up to him or her to take and to decide upon. There's still members who think it's an HR issue, or when the day of retirement arrives, they just walk up to the HR office and fill in a form and walk away and everything happens. So to understand these options and to know what options are available is very important. Basically, there's 4 options available, and you can use some of them simultaneously or as a hybrid or as standalones, but members must understand what they are up to and what these options are. For me, coming a long way in this industry, we were used to talk about a guaranteed annuity. It's actually a life annuity where there come certain guarantees and so forth. But it's important that the member understand what that means, because the word guarantee can be very misleading and think this is the option to go for because it's guaranteed. Members must understand how it works, that the guaranteed term is only for a certain period, and we will give more detail on this in some backup slides. The most popular option and the option that most members are opting for are the living annuity, where the investment is market linked. The member have choices, he can review his income, and then obviously we always talk about an emergency fund or access to certain funds for holidays, for certain emergencies. It's a flexible investment where the member have access to certain funds, and therefore the bottom line is it's so complicated and these choices are so difficult to make. I will strongly advise that you do it with the help of an advisor. Help you and explain these options to you and the rules of each option. And then you can build a fantastic package that suits all your needs.
Nelis, would you like to elaborate for us, how does PSG construct the retirement solution?
So it can become very complex. It's going to depend on where the client's current investment portfolio is at. That might be only a pension fund, only a retirement annuity, perhaps a couple of preservation funds from the past. So the first thing we'll do is we will split before and after tax money, or more commonly referred to as discretionary and non-discretionary funds. The reason for that is the SARS regulation on how these funds are treated differs. Some of them are accessible and some of them are not. So that's the first thing we do, we break them up. Then we will determine the different investment sectors where we move the client's money to, typically equities, bonds, cash, and property, depending on the risk profile of that particular client. where we will then build an investment strategy that fits their personality. Because if the investment strategy does not fit your personality, we have to take care of the emotions involved with it. So you might be placed into a very aggressive investment proposal, and that's going to hurt you emotionally. You want to get out of it at some point, and then you're going to feel that you receive bad advice. So we align your investment proposal with your particular needs. And then most importantly, it needs to be a continuous approach. Retirement is not solved on the first day of retirement. You go through your consultation, we build the product, and we never talk to you again. That won't make sense. Because obviously markets change and your own needs change through time. So it needs to be a continuous approach on keeping the trains on the track.
If I can just add to what Nelis have explained, I think it's very important that the member understand the asset classes that Nelis was referring to. And we often see that members tend to be more conservative as they approach retirement. Some members even go full into cash or into a money market. And then at retirement, they want to go back into the market. This is very important. It's the biggest mistake you can ever make. And therefore, there's nothing wrong by de-risking your portfolio as you approach retirement. But to get out of the market or disinvest your money before retirement is a big mistake, because the process that Nelis has explained is to build a portfolio that you can invest in for the next 25, 30, 40 years after retirement. Again, the same philosophy before and after retirement should stay in place. The one asset class is not an alternative for the other. We keep using equities, cash, bonds, property, but in a way that suits the client, that suits the market. And therefore it's important that with the help of an advisor, that we align the pre-retirement portfolio with the post-retirement portfolio, with the normal market movement that can happen.
And then the next typical question we get is, what's all of this going to cost?
Yes.
So of course that freaks out a lot of people, and over the last years there've been a lot of hammering on fees and trying to get fees as low as possible. But I think before we focus on what the fee should be, the first thing is to understand what you are paying for. So fees can basically be broken up into three main categories. The first one, you pay for your investment advisory service. So that's a fee typically charged roughly between 0.5 and 1.5% per annum. That you pay for the investment advisory services you receive from the firm. This can, in some times, be the same firm that you're buying the product from. Doesn't necessarily have to be. The second fee you're paying would be for administration. So an administrative fee is paid to the company that owns the vehicle where your money is invested. So it would be their job to pay you your monthly salary, to make the tax deduction and pay that across the SARS. That usually works on a tiered scale or a sliding scale. The more money you have, the cheaper it becomes. Typically starting out at roughly 50 basis points or 0.5%, and it bottoms out at 0.1. And then the third one, which I think is the most important to keep your eye on, would be your asset management fees. That's the fees going to the guy on the floor buying and selling the shares, the Coronations, the Allen Greys of the world. That can be charged anything from as low as 0.1% for a passive investment, right up to around about 4% for an actively managed global investment. In all three of these instances, you get what you pay for. So yes, be fee sensitive and make sure that you get the best value for money, but to try and do it as cheap as possible, you're gonna hurt yourself over the long run, because we strongly believe that this is a business run by expertise. The less you pay, less expertise will be involved in managing your money, causing unwanted and unintended mistakes. But firstly, understand what you're paying for and understand how to compare that proposal in the different markets. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Thank you for that transparency. I, for one, feel more comfortable now that you've explained that in detail. Neels, this one's for you. Is there any parting wisdom that you'd like to share with members?
Thanks, Linda. Well, yes, if I can give one little piece of advice, retirement is about contribution and preservation. It's not about portfolios and returns and all of that. Members are too focused on the returns they can get or cannot get. I'm not saying you should not use a well-diversified and well-structured portfolio, but we've done a lot of research within PSG, and the average good balanced funds over 10 years or longer, the returns were basically the same. So what will make the difference eventually is how much you are contributing, how long you are contributing, and if you are preserving when you are changing jobs. If you're doing that in the right way, then you will be fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking the time to share your wisdom and your expertise in this field. And I'm sure that everyone that is watching at the moment has gained a lot of knowledge through this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.